have the pandemic situation been treating you?
It's been pretty much. It's not been nice. It's not been nice anywhere actually. But because you do a live event, so you can't do much. This unfortunate disease is something where people can't congregate, and you can't even, you can't even talk to your own, meet your family members or whatever. So like everyone else in the world, we have been stuck at home and
Right.
just trying to wait it out. And now we're almost at the end of the year. I'm hoping the coming year is slightly better than 2020. And yeah, I mean, it's the same. I hope everyone in Bangladesh is doing.
Yeah, we're trying our best. But Saadi bhai, you're not in the country. You are in another country right now. So how, like, this is weird. Like, Comic Con happening without you in the country. Like, I feel incomplete myself. So, like,
Well, it's
what's going on in your mind?
it's virtual, so I could be in Timbuktu and do this. So I was gonna ask you the same question Jatin asked you. How are things in Dhaka? How are things in Bangladesh? I miss all of you guys. And this time of the year we have our events, and it's been so many months. We're stuck also, but we're all happy to be alive and breathing, and hopefully soon we'll actually have physical events. And I'm just happy to see my friend Jatin here, and thanks for coming on board and doing this. We've been going to India Comic Con for the last 5 years. That's when I met these wonderful individuals, and we've become great friends, and it's just been amazing to see and learn and experience. And you haven't been, Kaisar, but you definitely have to go at least to Delhi Comic Con at some point. It is beautiful. I think it's one of the only outdoor Comic Cons that happen in the world.
Yeah, and now with the pandemic, all Comic Cons will happen outdoors.
Yes, correct, I guess.
Question to Jatin bhai. So, how did it all start in India? I know you were the key person behind starting the convention in India back in 2011. So, tell us the whole story. How did it all happen?
So it's a story I've told many times. I've changed sometimes the storyline, but mostly it was back in 2010. And in India, at that point in time, I was making comics. I mean, I had some other work as well, but one of the things I used to do was make comics because I used to try and publish a magazine called Random, which was like Mad Magazine, if you've ever seen it. It's like a humor magazine. And then, the whole idea of, I had obviously always heard of Comic Cons around the world, but I got to know that obviously nothing like that had happened in India. And I live in Delhi. So in 2010, Delhi was also undergoing a massive change because we were going to host these Commonwealth Games. So the city was like spruced up. I mean, everything from the streets to new buses to new stadiums to everything was like spick and span. So you had a lot of venues. Even though we used a venue which is already pretty old, but we just thought somehow it just came together, and I ended up with my company at that time, where most people employed were not really into events; they were into content creation or publishing and all. So we decided that let's try and hold a Comic Con for the first time in Delhi, and we picked an open air market, which is like a famous tourist spot in India. In Delhi, sorry, and it's called Delhi Heart, and it costs like 20 rupees to enter, and we weren't planning to charge any tickets in any case. So we rented a back area of that market, and we held the first show in February of 2011, and it was a success based on a really great turnout and the fact that we didn't lose a lot of money. So whatever we spent on it, we made most of it back. So I thought, okay, this works, and this seems pretty interesting. We got tons of coverage because this is unique, and I mean, I cosplayed and some people cosplayed because obviously we knew cosplay was going to be big, but people in India didn't know what cosplay was. For most people, it was fancy dress. So we thought, we'd encourage people to do all of those things. So we had everyone who had anything to do with comics, some animation, to come to the show. We even did an awards night. It rained on the second day for an open air event. That was not the best thing, but people were pretty happy because it was fun and it was pretty much free to attend, so you weren't losing out on anything. Even if you had to take a booth, it was really cheap. It wasn't very expensive. So yeah, all in all, it came out to be a nice, fun weekend in February, and from there, because it felt like we had touched on something, so we started doing it the same year. We went to Mumbai, then we went to Bangalore, then we went to Hyderabad, and then we started expanding the shows. A few years later, we started ticketing the shows. Everything got bigger and better, and India at that time also kind of went through a space where you got a lot of, all the big companies came in and they were setting up licenses. Then eventually you had OTT companies like Prime Video, Netflix, or whatever come in. So the past 10 years, like, we have grown. All of this has also grown with us. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, and but I mean, we're in South Asia, so anything can happen at any time. So
Right.
so Sadi can tell you about that more.
Yeah.
But so that's been our story so far. So I mean, we had some background in comics and we liked it, and we thought we should do this, and that's how it started.
Mhm. So, is there any particular specific challenge that you had to face during the first time?
The biggest challenge was that I had no idea how to do an event, but obviously I knew how to attend an event. So I was trying to do everything that I would like at an event, at
Mhm.
least within my budget. And the other thing was, at that point in time, it was very unique, and even now, though it's lesser to that extent, because this is 2011. So only, even if you were watching international films, only the Iron Man movie had been there, and Avengers was going to come out. So it was still small, like people's idea of superheroes and everything attached to it was not so massive. Even though now it seems like everyday life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, the challenge was explaining to people, and most people in India sadly thought comics is for children, because we have comics here, local comics, which are obviously meant for children. They were history and mythology and children's magazines, really nicely done. But the idea was always that comics are for children, and it's not true. Comics are actually for adults or young adults, and the children part is only a tiny part of it. So that was the biggest challenge, just explaining to people what you're trying to do, because they couldn't understand.
Right.
Anyone I had to explain to what the event was, they couldn't understand. I said, just show up and see what it is. So that was the biggest challenge.
But one beautiful thing about the comic book industry in India is like it has been a big thing from very early on. Like I am familiar with Pran comics, like Chacha Chaudhary, Bindu, Pinky. Those were there for a long time, and people were already familiar with local comics for a long time. Do you think that played a positive role in starting comic?
Yeah, I mean, it does help. So you have to see, India is a massive place. So I live in Delhi, so Chacha Chaudhary, everyone will know. The moment you go down south, they will not know of Chacha Chaudhary, because it's a very Hindi, North Indian comic.
Right.
But then every area had something or the other, and the thing that everyone had was cartoonists. So
Hmm.
everyone would see cartoonists in newspapers and magazines. So the idea of cartooning and political cartoons, that was big. And no, you can't do that freely anymore in India, unfortunately. But back then, you could just make fun of anyone, and you can't get in trouble, and you would do that. But so that helped. And we had Amar Chitrakatha, which was pan India, which was in local languages and English, because mostly how you end up communicating in India is at the end of the day in English, because not
Mhm.
everyone speaks each other's languages. So we had Amar Chitrakatha, and also we had a base. So we had an understanding of what a comic book is. We
Right.
had local creators. We had some tradition, and mostly it was either history, mythology, or they would do humor. And then, in Bengal, you would have local characters, and you have a lot of following for international comics as well, like Tintin and Strix. So
Mhm.
that did help. But the industry in India is a boutique industry. It's a few companies and mostly individuals who run and produce comics. A lot of them do it out of passion. They're not really making any money on it,
Right.
as such. But it's evolving. So, in the coming years, there might be people who have now created a comic book, sold the rights to it, and then they have a series coming on one of the platforms as well. So So those type of things are now happening. So yeah, so I mean, just to go back to your question, having a little base in India did help.
Right. So the Comic Con that you host and arrange, is it like one comic convention per year? Is it like an annual thing? You have been doing it every year since 2011?
Yes,
Six.
every year. It depends on the year. We do it in multiple cities. So one event in each city each year. 4 events for sure, which are Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. And then we have taken the show to different places. Sometimes, like we've gone to Pune, which is another city in India, and we have Mumbai, and then we've gone to Ahmedabad recently in Gujarat. We have not been to Calcutta yet, which is known to be a hub for books and everything.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, which is something we face in Bangladesh as well. We don't have venues meant for shows like this, so you have to, you know, find solutions to it. So Delhi is open air not because I want to do it open air, because there is no, the only convention hall is just not feasible. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So we do it on open air. In other cities, there are options, but not every city has infrastructure. Or sometimes it does, but the price so expensive that it doesn't make
Mm.
sense to do like us. So we don't. We end up finding other solutions.
But if I give you the example of the United States, where comic convention happens in different states, but the one major comic convention where it all started is San Diego Comic Con. So
Yeah.
what is that equivalent for India?
I would say in terms of size, it'll be Delhi, because that's like a massive show. Just because of the scale and the size and the money involved, everything is massive. But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of numbers of number of people attending, Bangalore catches up to Delhi a lot of times. Bangalore is another hub for fans. Mumbai also. But Delhi is our biggest show. I mean, Delhi is also our home base, so we end up spending a lot of time and money there. And
Right.
but San Diego is a 50-year-old
Mm.
show, and US is a very different type of a place where it's not just
Right.
the culture, but it's also like comic book shops. People read a lot. In India, people don't generally read in general. Like we had comics books also. So it's a very different place. I've been to San Diego once in my life. I'm still paying off the debt from that trip. It was very expensive. But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, there is a reason why it's kind of called the Mecca Comics or Comic Con, because it is actually. I mean, I've never seen
Mhm.
any. I've seen other shows in the world, and I've never seen anything that matches up to it.
But
You
when
know,
you look back, sorry, bhai, please.
oh no, I was just gonna say right before all this COVID stuff happened, I was
Yeah,
supposed to go to the US to attend a few shows,
yeah,
and this was in the summer. And I remember, since I thought since I'm traveling, I thought I was traveling, but let me look up a few other shows. And I went to these shows like 10, 15 years ago, and
yeah,
whenever I get a chance. So now when I looked it up, as Jatin was saying, sort of like the mecca of you know uh, the whole pop culture industry. So basically, I noticed that every weekend, on a Saturday and Sunday, some city in some state had something. They either
yeah,
had a
Mm.
GI Joe convention, a DC convention, a Star Wars convention, a Transformers get together, a Masters of the Universe get together, so and so city comic convention, so and so expo. So every weekend there's something. So I was just kind of blown away that, oh my God, there's so many events now. And the thing is, people are going. People are going not only in that state but from other states, because they're probably thinking that comic I'm looking for, I will find. That one toy I'm looking for, I will find. I'll get to meet all these people. So I think everyone's kind of banking in on it, cashing in on it, because I'm in touch with a few other organizers, and they all seem to be doing well. Not now, but great. And it just seems like the people there really support this and live and breathe this. And now I think even more, like with all the movies and everything coming out, So
Right.
it's crazy. We look forward to our yearly events, but they're having something every weekend.
yeah.
Mm. Well, I'm coming back to you to know the origin story of Dhaka Comicon. But before that, I want to ask Jatin Bhai that when you look at like the last Comic Con that you did and compare it with the very first one, like, do you say to yourself, mission accomplished, or is it like way to go?
It depends. I mean, yeah. I mean, compared to the first show, the first. I mean, the food court at Delhi Comic Con was bigger than the first show. So from that perspective, it's pretty big. It's going well. Just like you guys, I mean, compared to Bangladesh, India is a bigger market, but compared to the world, India is like a blip. The only thing we're able to kind of push is the fact that we have a lot of people here. Um, would, that would eventually add up to a lot of money for people if you stick around. But it takes a while to do this in India. So we face a lot of issues in terms of getting content for people, getting convincing people to come down to India. And just. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, I can complain about 50 or thousands of things. But the good thing is, the culture has really grown up. So obviously, at a Comic Con, there's all sorts of people like comics, toys, cosplay, whatever, and all of those communities are thriving. And it's nice that we had a part in creating all of those communities, or at least bringing those people together. But they're thriving on themselves by themselves. We're not doing anything. At times, we feel like we have kind of behind them because we have to cater to everyone, and you always have to be mass, so you have to kind of make it easy. So I would say the show is maybe going in the right direction. Mission is not accomplished, and because it's a mass show, so you have to cater to the hardcore fans a bit, but the majority of the stuff has to be for people who are more casual fans. Like they'll watch the movies, they'll buy the t-shirts. They haven't grown up on it, so they're enjoying it, but they're not like, oh, I need a piece of this toy or something or the other, and they're still getting comfortable with this whole idea of expressing themselves and saying, oh, I'm a fan of this or I'm a fan of that. So that's happening in India. It's certainly getting a lot better, and it's nice to see people be more geeky than I would. I'm getting older, so I think they left out of things. But yeah, I mean, it's still a way to go. I mean, I can say I can probably speak for South Asia in general. We have a long way to
go. Absolutely. So, Saadi bhai, now I want to focus on you. And for this particular question, I also want to bring in Abu bhai. Abu bhai, are you nearby? Maybe you can join us for this discussion. So it's weird that I have to invite him in his own house to do this session. Like it's a little bit weird. So Saadi bhai, Abu bhai, now I want to know the origin story of Dhaka Comicon. Like how did it all start back in 2012? 12. Saadi bhai?
Oh yeah. Well, it's a bunch of things that came together to start this. Just like Jatin was saying, we've also said this story many times over the last many years. And Abu and I are also, our fathers are friends. So we're also family friends, but we're also friends separately. We both grew up with comics, action figures. And, so my recollection of this whole thing is, I've been collecting toys for life, for a long time. And, I opened a page in 2010 called Saadi's Collectibles because I just thought, I was a working professional then, and I collected toys, and I had just moved back to Dhaka 4 or 5 years back, and I didn't know that many people that were into this stuff. So I thought, you know what, Facebook is around, I'll open a page and just see who's out there who likes toys. So then I started meeting a lot of people through those toys. And I used to run a music company in Persian music. So I met a lot of young people there every day. And almost everyone either loved Batman or his Phantom or Spider-Man or something. So I was talking to these people and I knew that there was some kind of interest. But I didn't really think, oh, we'll do something. Let's just see who's out there. Let's just connect, And I think Abu has a different part on that side. I'll let him say that, and then that's how we came together. Started, and we just really wanted to, and I always remember the place. It was a friend's outdoor cafe. It doesn't even exist anymore, and we're both friends with him. It was the Bench Cafe, and it was such a memorable 2 evenings because and what we wanted to do was I remember talking to Abu and saying, let's just do this. We got some help from friends and stuff, and we just wanted to see, let's see what happens. And we had so many people show up, so we knew that there was this interest, that there was something there. It was maybe supposed to be a one-time thing, but then we realized that there is an interest, and we want to continue doing this because we loved it. And just like Jatin was saying, we also remember cosplaying that time. I don't think I've been able to cosplay after that time at our shows, although I really wanted to. It hasn't happened for 10 years until last year. Last year, I was so obsessed with Mandalorian. I did that, and I did that in Delhi Comic Con also. But that was the first time and the last time. In the middle, I never got to cosplay. But yeah, and it's been almost 10 years now. So it's been a nice journey. That's how it started.
Fantastic, fantastic. But how, Saadi bhai, Rahu bhai, how did you meet Jatin bhai?
I think Saadi bhai met Jatin first.
All right. So
And
how did that happen?
I think we had emailed each other because we were just trying to connect, but we never got to really talk. And then they already had a few events, we already had a few events, and suddenly after like 2 or 3 years, somehow I actually don't even remember how we connected at that point, but there was messaging going on, and we wanted to visit and kind of see what the India Comic Cons were about. So there's a funny story. We met, but we didn't really know each other like that. So my wife and I went. Tasmi and I traveled, and this was in 2015, before the Comic Con, like 6 months before the Comic Con. We just went to India. We were in Delhi. So I emailed Jatin. He emailed me back. He said, "Oh, my partner, I will meet you. Come over here, and we'll chat and we'll discuss stuff." I didn't know him. He didn't know me. So we're at this hotel, and suddenly we get a call, and they come over, him and Karan, and they pick me and touch me up, and then we go hang out somewhere and meet more of their friends. But we had no idea who they were. They had no idea who we were, and that was the beginning, And then we've all been friends ever since, and then once we connected and we found out, different things about each other and the comic conventions, in 2015 was the first time that we went to Delhi Comic Con. That was the first time, and it was amazing. I mean, I've been to so many comic conventions all over the world, but Delhi has always it has a soft corner in my heart because that show was amazing. And it's the cold weather, the outdoors, and I think we had a booth there that time. We've been doing booths there from Dhaka Comicon or Pop Shop or Saadi's Collectibles for the last 5 years, and we never missed Delhi. We got a chance to go to Bombay later. Abu also went to Delhi. We got a chance to go to Bombay, but we haven't got to the other cities. Hopefully, when all this subsides, we'll definitely go to all the cities. But it's always a mandatory stop for us every December to Bombay and Delhi.
but it can get very cold in Delhi. Saadi bhai knows how much I suffer every time it's so cold
I love
there.
that cold. I love that cold.
Very cold layers of clothes then. But I've always had a fantastic. I've done it twice, and I had a fantastic time. Manning the stalls and meeting all Indian people, and they're I think they're equally passionate about pop culture as we are. That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, if it was possible for me, I would have requested all three of you to do some sort of workshop on Starter Pack Comic Con. I don't know, Comic Con Starter Pack. But since that's not possible right now, what I want to do is we're gonna play a small game. So the game is that each of you will mention three elements that one needs to start comic convention, and the game will go like this: Jatin will name one element, and I will come to Saadi bhai. Saadi bhai will name the second element, and then Abu bhai will name another element. But the trick is you cannot repeat each other.
Okay.
I mean, I think the first thing you need is the ability to take a risk. I mean, it can be not just doing a Comic Con, but it could be doing any small business in this space, be it making comics or selling collectibles or whatever. But I think if you have the ability to take the risk, I mean, taking that leap is the first thing that you would need to be comfortable with, which means that you might fail, and you should be okay with it, and it's okay to fail also. So if you have the ability to take that leap and be prepared for whatever comes, then it is because if you do an event business or any business which is very niche or unique in countries like ours, Not only is it difficult to raise money for it, it is difficult to sell to people. It is difficult to sustain it. And so in all of pop culture in India, I do an events business. There are people who do publishing. There are people who import toys and sell. Everyone has their own challenges, and you envy each other, but you know that they're also going to go through different challenges. But if you get into this space, then you have to have the ability to take that leap and be prepared for failing and be prepared for the fact that it will not be easy to make money. And obviously, everyone has their own threshold. So you might say, okay, I'll try it for a year. If it doesn't work, then I'll quit it or whatever. But the first thing is I take that leap. Be prepared for it. Try it out, and then take the risk, because it's not easy to start something on your own. So if you're prepared to do that first step, and then other things can follow.
Okay. Well, Jatin said a great one. I can't repeat that. So mine would be
Yes.
passion. Mine would be passion because anyone can wake up one morning and be like, oh, I want to be in this business. I want to be in that business, and people do stuff like that. But I think if you have the passion for what you're doing, then you can go further because that will in turn bring you the drive, the consistency, the interest, the projections of what might happen. So passion, I think, is very important because I love this stuff so much that I could do this night and day. But if it was something else that I'm not passionate about, I probably wouldn't want to do
Passion, just one point about passion. Passion is a double-edged sword. You can
it.
be really
Absolutely,
passionate. You enjoy the hell out of it, but it is not successful. Then you're also frustrated at the same time.
Right.
absolutely.
Abu, I missed your point last. What was Abu's point?
Abu Bhai's
Ah,
point was the ability to influence and bring communities and people together.
Yeah. I think I think my fourth point, I would. So I when I started off, I didn't have any idea. I didn't have any business plan. I didn't have anything. And I just did it on a whim. I did it without really doing any basic math. So I would suggest now, if you have the time to think about what you're going to do, I would say that even if you don't know how to do it, get a friend along who would help you make a proper business plan, budget it out, plan it out, figure out what you have in hand, how do you sustain it, like figure out at least a 1 year plan of how you're going to make it, which is obviously you keep changing it as the situation evolves, but don't start without a plan in place. I
Right.
mean, if I had to
Right.
go back and think back at all the things that I was doing when I started, one of the things that I would want to do is have a plan in place, how I would sustain it and grow it. I mean, you should not start without it.
Absolutely. So number 4 is planning it out properly so that it can be sustainable. So Sari bhai, back to you. What's your 5?
I guess my next point would be persistence because once again it's easy, or one can think about, oh, I want to do an event, whatever it is, a movie group, or movie hangout, a toy hangout, whatever. But persistence is also, I had said passion, and like Jatin said, it is a double-edged sword. Even persistence, it can be, but if you keep trying, I mean, if you do something and you believe in it, you might fail. You might fail, and that can be very heartbreaking. But you have to be able to take that. If you take the failure, and failure is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a lesson learned. You know what you did wrong. Either you get back up and try it again and keep trying. So persistence, I think, is important to uh, to move forward with things like this. I mean, because we've been persistent, we're on our 10th year now. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, but here we are in year 10. So I think that's very important. And of course, being persistent can be hard too at times if things are not going well. So it really depends on, are things going well, are things not going well? And with
Right.
us, it's always ever changing.
Mhm. So number
I would say I'll make a slightly technical point. I would say that you should not, because even if it's your passion or you like it and it's so cool, you should not lose sight of the fact that it's a business. So,
Yes.
so you cannot do this as for fun. I mean, it should not. But the fun part can continue. Whatever. It's a business, so your main aim eventually
Mhm.
should be that you should turn a profit. If you don't turn a profit, then you should not do this.
Yeah, it's not charity. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
So and the thing with such businesses, and especially when they're all passion driven, is that you enjoy it so much that you're willing to go the extra mile and really into it. But eventually, the money will catch up, and you'll be like, how much can I keep? I mean, if you don't make money, then at the end of the day, you're not doing a business. So if you start this off and it's your passion project, remember that it's also a business. So it's okay to be passionate in the beginning, but your sole aim should be to make it profitable. Unless you are doing you have a tech idea where there are tons of people investing and
Mhm.
all you need is valuation. But even then, you still have to keep growing your business. So
yeah.
Right.
at the end of the day, it's a business. So make sure that you follow the rules of the business, which is that it should make money.
Mhm. So in short, I'm going to summarize point number 7 as take care of the business part. Be aware of the business part as well. And so, Saibhai, your third and last and eighth point in the list. So what?
And I was going to say money. But Jatin said business, so it's good. It's done. Because to for all of this, it takes a lot of money. And as a spectator or as an outsider, sometimes you just think, I just want to go to an event, I want to have fun. But there's so much that goes behind it. And of course,
Right.
to even start that, you need the money. And that's why we have all these sponsors and we have this network. Anyway, that was Jatin's thing. I think my next point would be uh, the whole having a good team, having a good team and an organization, basically. And we've had the we've been lucky to be working with some of the same people that we've been working with for the last 10 years. I mean, some
Mhm.
people have left, some people are new. We're getting new people with new interests, but that team, the manpower. When we're doing an event, we have to set up space like overnight, or sometimes overnight. Sometimes we work with these malls, we work with these fields, and it can be very difficult, especially in our side of the world. So sometimes even if you have a plan in place, suddenly that can change overnight. They're like, oh, you can't do this. Come back tomorrow and do everything overnight. How do you do that? So
Mhm.
you obviously need those vendors that are with you, that are your friends, that you can call and say, you know what, this is what we need. This is what it can't be one of those things like, oh well, this isn't working. You need that team that will make it work. So I think that setting that up together and working with them is also very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
First of all, that Comic Cons, I mean, my idea for Comic Con is to make friends. Some of my closest friends over the past few years have been people I met through Comic Con. In fact, I got to know Saadi and Apu through a Comic Con, so they became friends through that. So the best thing about a Comic Con, and I've seen this not just I've seen people at my shows becoming friends, getting married. I mean, I've seen tons of stuff happening. So
Mm.
that's a great place. That's a good thing about Comic Con anywhere in the world. You become friends even if you don't know the person personally, but you
Mhm.
like something and they're passionate about it at the same time. That and the other thing is, it sucks that Dhaka Comicon couldn't happen in person because I was totally free to attend this year. so
Ah.
So because I, unlike Saadi and Abu, I unfortunately every time you guys do your show, it's in the middle of right before my show, so that's when I can't travel. And I've been wanting to travel for a long time, and also check out your collections because Saadi was being modest about having his collectibles page. Like, after seeing pictures of his collection, I was ashamed of my own. So so I hope I get to attend Dhaka Comicon and just come check it out because I was lucky to check out Sri Lanka Comicon. Lanka Comicon, it was a lot of fun. Sri Lanka was beautiful also, but it was so much fun to meet people that you instantly become friends because you're connecting with something so common. So I'm just waiting to attend Dhaka Comicon, and I know that if my show had happened this year and there was no pandemic, the winners of cosplay from last year at your show were supposed to come to Delhi Comic Con. So obviously,
Yep.
it sucks because even there's been no cosplay in India this year either. So whenever we host the next Delhi Comic Con, hopefully in 2021, I would invite you and everyone on your team, and Kaisar, you should also come and come to Delhi Comic Con and enjoy the winters. And Delhi Comic Con has over the past few years also gotten to know be famous for its food apparently. So it's also
Yeah.
food festival. So all the winners from last year, I hope if they're watching, that invite is going to stand permanently till you guys get to attend any of the shows. So if you can't make it Delhi, you can come to any of the other cities. But hope to host you guys in India hopefully next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll definitely be there. We were very excited about being there this year. Obviously, that didn't happen, and our winners were excited too. So the promise is still there, and we will take you to Delhi. And Kaisar, you should definitely come. That food court is amazing. I've spent so much time there, and they have coffee. Kaisar loves coffee all day,
Yes,
so
yes.
we can get you
Well,
lots of coffee.
I can be like the backup host of the Delhi Comic Con. If like the main host gets sick or something, I can always be there as a backup.
Totally. And we last year we crossed the threshold as an event. We had a Starbucks at a Comic Con.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we charge people a lot of money for a cup of coffee.
Wow.
So
Thank you so much again, everyone. It was an amazing session. I got to learn a lot of stuff from all of you, and but I'm glad that Dhaka Comic Con at least is happening online because whatever we can get in these troubled times is a blessing. So thank you, Saadi bhai, thank you, Abu bhai, thank you, Jatin bhai. Hope to see you next time physically at either Delhi or goodbye. See you guys soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.